Hello YouTubers. This is a quick video to show you how you can add OData capabilities and supercharge your API in ASP.NET 6, with the easiest and simplest way possible. For those of you who are not familiar with OData, it's an open data protocol that allows you, it's basically supercharges your API. It allows your API to offer capabilities to your API consumers that allows them to shape the data, order the data, select particular portions of the data. If you're shipping large JSON objects through the wire and your client only needs a couple of attributes, it doesn't make sense to kind of, pass in that entire object or even retrieve that entire object from your database. The beautiful thing about OData is that you can execute these queries on the server. So, imagine that you have a simple, very thin layer UI client, and you want that client to be able to hit the API, get some data, and just render it, as it should be normally in most of software architecture patterns. You want you want your UI to worry about rendering the data. You want your API to worry about, the manipulation and, structuring of that data. So you basically pass that query all the way down to the server. You let the capability of that server execute, that kind of query, and then it returns what you really need. So imagine this for a second. Imagine that you have a school API, and the school API basically offers this capability of, returning all the students that are registered or enlisted in the schooling system. How do you go about it? Now, let's say we just want the students that are named Michael or Ahmed or Vishwa, whatever the person may be, and I want to select only the students that fall within that criteria. Let's say I have like 20,000 students enlisted and you only want this one person. It doesn't make sense that you have to develop a special API endpoint every time you want to basically add a new capability to your API. OData comes in to kind of save the day for you. And this is what I'm going to show you today real quick. I'm basically going to, and I get to show off, my Visual Studio 2021, 22, and you get to see some of the cool capabilities in that system. Let's just go ahead and start with this one. So here's my my Visual Studio Preview 2022. Here we go. And let's just start a project from scratch. So I want to show you .NET 6, brand new project. There's nothing new in there. And just a very simple ASP.NET Core API. So let's just go ahead with this one. And I'm going to call this OData 6 example, or demo rather. Demo.api. All right, let's go ahead and start the project. It's going to be a very simple project, very basic, really. All you got to do is just, I'm not going to build an entire storage behind it. The beautiful thing about OData is that as long as you can return an iQueryable, it doesn't matter where this iQueryable goes. It could be going to a Cosmos DB, it could be going anywhere. It doesn't matter because it will be able to, execute a query on that query, so on that storage data that's coming in. Let me fix the, I always forget that one. I apologize about that. Let me fix the resolution for you here real quick. And here's a new Visual Studio with the new UI. I'll make a special video about these capabilities and how you can enable it for sure. And here's this guy. And then let me pull out the recording. Okay, so this is Visual Studio 2022. And we're running a very simple application that has a controller. Right, so I'm gonna get rid of that junk, right? I don't want the weather forecast controller. I don't want the weather forecast. All of these things are great just to show you the lay of the land, but it's not something that you want to basically keep around, especially if you're building something serious. All right, so this is my stuff. Here's what I'm gonna do. For those who are familiar with the standard, they understand that I basically build brokers and services and controllers, and the brokers provide the data, and the services kind of massage that data, and it creates a layer of abstraction. Then the controllers kind of offer that data. I'm going to cut that broker side just to, for the purpose of that demo, and I'm just going to offer a little service here that returns just a list of people, and this list of people can be an iQueryable, it can be a list, it doesn't really matter. So here's my services. And I'm going to create a quick model in here just for the purpose of this demo. So here's models, right? And in the models area, I'm just going to create a student model. There you go. Add class, and let's just add a simple student model. like this. So that's my student model right here. And let's just add some stuff in my student model. So what do I have in here? I have a GUID for an ID. I have a string for a name. And let's just have one in here as well for score or grade, whatever the case may be, something like this. Okay, Control K cleans up the world. And then let's create a dummy service. And this service basically will pretend that it's going and pulling some data from the database. Did I already create services? Yes, I did. So let me get rid of this one and let me go up in here and create an interface. A quick interface. iStudentService.cs. And in iStudentService, I just want a list of students. It can be an iQueryable as well. Those of you who are familiar with OData know exactly that you can actually execute. Let's make it an iQueryable just for funsies. Student, and this is retrieve all students, like this. Okay, and I want an implementation of that guy in here, so I'm just going to go ahead and here say studentservice.cs. And here's an implementation. I love how it's smart enough in Visual Studio 2022 that it can actually pick up that for you automatically. And in this implementation here, I'm not really going to do much. I'm just going to return a new list of students, right, like this. And I'm just going to create a bunch of students just for testing, right? So I'm going to go here. Here's a bunch of students. And I'm going to say as queryable just so I can get that kind of look and feel that it's actually executing something on the server and all that kind of stuff. And then let's just add a bunch of students. So here's a student, and here's an ID, GUID, no GUID. Here's one, and then let's have a name. Let's have Vishu Goli, and let's give Vishu a score of 200. And then let's make another one. Let's make 3 of them so we can go around and try things back and forth with OData. So here's this guy, here's another student, here's the third student. Okay. So who are my new people in here? I'm gonna say Kailu who in here. Right? Give Kailu 150 or 160, and then let's have in here Sean Hobbs, for instance. And that's this guy. Let's give this guy 170. Okay, so you have a bunch of these people. And I'm going to go and register my service in here. That's just a normal. There's absolutely no change right here in the way we are doing. So this is services.add transient iStudentService. Here we go. And this guy implements student service like this. Okay, it's just an implementation, an interface, you know, bare bone ASP.NET Core application as quickly as I can make it. You know, okay, so I'm returning a bunch of these students in here. And I'm going to play around with that data just to show you the capabilities that you can have in here. Okay, let's go to the controller side. I'm going to create a brand new controller in here. Let's create a brand new controller. And this controller is going to just do a get, and I'm just going to add OData on top of that guy. So this is an API controller, empty API controller, and let's just call it students controller, like this. And in this API controller, I'm just going to go and say HTTP GET, and this guy return an action result of an iQueryable of a student, like this. Let's zoom that guy in a little bit, and this is here get all students, right? And all that I'm doing really, let's define a student service in here real quick as a dependency, and that's my student service. And I'm going to take that guy and do control period, and it will generate a constructor for me, you know, that basically initialize that student service just like this. Okay, so we have the student service, we have all of that. All I got to do now is just to save those student result retrieved, wherever they come from, students, which is this dot student service dot retrieval students, and I'm just going to return that as an OK, you know, retrieve students. So here's all your students that are in the system, right? Okay. This is all good and dandy. Let's test this guy. You know, normally it just pops up a nice Swagger document that you can look at, and basically it'll show you, you know, the capabilities that you've built. So let's see if it'll pop up that Swagger document for me here. Okay, it's running on local host. There's this guy. Okay, here's my Swagger document. Here's API students. So our hypothesis is I click try it out and click execute. It pulls out all the data. So super quick API, beats every other technology I could think of. There could be things that can come up a lot faster, but here you go. Dependency injection, you have the services, you have everything in place. Now all I have to do is just retrieve that data and just manipulate it, right? So okay, so this is my endpoint in here. I have my endpoint right here, and it's returning the data for me, right? Now here's the trick. This alone is boring, right? Because what if I only want people that have a name Vishuguli? What if I want students that have, over 150 score, over 170 score? How do you go about doing that stuff? We need to figure out a way, where we can offer that capability. Of course, your requirements are going to be changing all the time. You want to build fluid applications that can actually support that kind of capability when it comes querying the data. So how do we go about doing that? There's this cool thing called OData, and I'm running this guy here just to confirm with everybody. We're running this on .NET 6. So if you look at the capability here, this is .NET 6, and it's running as an API. I'm just going to go ahead in here and pull out the latest and greatest OData. And by the way, just for you to understand, .NET 6 is not production ready yet. It's in preview mode, so it's not super ready yet, but where I'm showing you what the future looks like from an API perspective and from OData perspective. I'm just going to go ahead in here and type in ASP.NET Core OData like this. And the latest active version that we can, the release candidate 3, which is OData 8. So I'm just going to go ahead and install that guy real quick. Let's have fun with this guy. So the first thing you're doing, you're just installing this. This is a lot lesser steps than we used to do. We used to do 4 lines of code. Now imagine how many lines of code we're going to be writing this time. So in add controllers, all you really had to do is to say add OData like this with a bunch of options. And these are the options that I want to offer through my controller. So what are the options I want to offer here? Let's put this in a scope just so people could see what I'm doing here. So I want to offer the select capability. So all I offered here is just the select capability. What is the select capability? It allows me to go and run my application and be able to select only particular properties from the payload, from the data that's coming back. Is that really true? I don't know. Let's find out. So here is my API students. And if I go and do $ select equal, and I only care about the name of the student, like this. So $ select name. Oh, I forgot to add the enable query. Sorry. There's one little step real quick in here I need to add, which is enable query. Just like this. Okay, enable query. This is what I did. I added OData with this one option in here. And then I'm running my application again. Let's take a look and see what that looks like. Here we go. Here's my API. And let's just do $ select name. See what happened here? It only selected a portion of the data that's coming back to me. Right? It's selecting a very specific portion of the data that's coming back to me. Now, maybe I want the ID. Right? Here's your ID. Maybe I want both. I want the ID and the name. Here's the ID and the name. So you get to select multiple properties. You get to select specific properties. That's one capability that you have outside the box with OData. What else you can have in here? I want to be able to filter. I want to only filter like this, right? Where the name equals Vishwagoli. I only want the students that have the name Vishwagoli. How do I go? If I run this right now, it blows up. It says you can't do that. You don't have this capability. Let's go ahead and add this capability in here real quick. I can go right down in here into my exact same query, and I could just say filter. So now I added new capability that may allow me to actually search for the data and filter for that data. So let's just run this again and see how that works. Here we go. And here is the URL. and I'm going to filter. Now I want to search just for Vishwa, so I can go here and say filter, name equals, and I can put Vishwa Goli in here, and sure enough, it returns only Vishwa Goli. All right, you can even do crazy things, like you could go and say, well, filter where, the score, right, is larger than 160, 165. Sorry, is less than 165, right? If the score is less than 165, let me put this on Postman so you get to see this better from a query standpoint. I think Postman would make this look a lot better because the browser here tries to kind of encode your query, and it looks kind of funny. So let's try this here. This would give people a little bit better insight about what this data looks like. Let's go add in here. And here is a no Postman. I don't want to upgrade. Leave me alone. So it's a filter, and then I want to say the score is greater than 165. See? So it gives me people that have score that is greater than 165. Right? I want the people that have, names that start with. So starts with, right? And I want people that have a name that starts with the letter S. Something like this. Specified, unknown, starts with, let's see, function import. Let me fix that real quick. Start with, let's see. Maybe I missed the convention a little bit. Give me a sec. Let's see here. Yeah, starts with and then the values. So that would be the filter equals starts with and then the value. Okay, let's fix that. So let me go back here. Maybe it's just doesn't like the case sensitivity. Yeah, there you go. So now if I go and say give me a name that starts with S capital, S uppercase. There you go. So starts with uppercase Sean, right, for case sensitivity. What if I want people that have a name that starts with K? It's Kailu, right? And so many other options that you can have in here. You could have, where the name is in a particular scope. So I want to go and say filter where the name is in and then a bunch of scope like Sean Hobbs, like this, or Vishu Goli. I want, if the name is one of these two, I want to be able to filter this way. Name in, there's probably a specific, there you go. So it's very case sensitive. So name in, here's Vishwa Goli, here's Sean Hobbs. All right, now what if I want to order these? Like if you go here and pull the students, you'll see that these students are not ordered. Like you have 170, 160, 200. Right? And I want to be able to go and say I want only the students to be ordered based on the number. If I go here and say $ order by equals score, it doesn't like that. It doesn't know what to do with that. Let's go and fix that. I'm going to go back to my API here real quick and say in here order by, like this. Let's run this guy again. So back to my ASP.NET, back to my Postman here. If I go and do this, now things change. Now it's ordering things in an ascending manner. So 160, 170, 200. What if I want it in a descending manner? Easy. You type in DESC, descending, and immediately it gives you that kind of capability. Okay, now there's so many other features that you can have in here. Select and filter is the most prominent ones, right? But you have so many other capabilities that you can have. Like you can select the top, you can select, so you have order by, you have set max stop, you have expand. If you have nested entities in your API and you want to expand to these, this is your guy, but you need a database for this one. right? And I'm gonna refer you in the description of this video. I'm gonna refer you to the place where you can see that kind of capability. That's pretty much it. ASP.NET Core 6. All you have to do is just add this one line of code, one line of code to offer these capabilities. And in addition to that, you just have to add this tag or decorator in your API. Boom, you're up and running with endless capabilities in your API. That's a quick overview. Of course, OData offers a lot more than this. There's batching capabilities. There is, so many different things. You can control paging. You can get a next link kind of a Helios model. There are so many of these things that OData offers outside of the box. This is just a quick view of how to implement and enable OData in ASP.NET Core 6. I hope this was useful for you. Please, if you have any questions or comments or concerns, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in another video. Thank you.